My name is Anna. I am 27 years old. I live in Savannah, Georgia. It is a quiet and peaceful city near the coast. I like the trees, the slow streets, and the river. I work as a graphic designer at a small office downtown. I create posters and flyers. The people at work are nice. I drink coffee in the morning and work on my computer most of the day. I enjoy the quiet life. I have a boyfriend. His name is Daniel. We have been together for 4 years. We met at a barbecue at a friend's house. He told a funny story, and I laughed. We started talking more after that, and soon we were dating. Daniel works in sales for a travel company. His job is busy. He talks to many people every day and sometimes travels to other cities. He does not live with me, but he often stays at my apartment. We cook dinner together, watch TV, and talk about our day. Sometimes he brings flowers. I feel happy when he is near me. Daniel talks about our future a lot. He says one day we will move into a house with a backyard and a dog. He wants to travel with me and maybe have a family one day. I believed him. I thought we had something strong. I thought we had love and trust. I felt lucky. But everything changed one Friday night. I was washing the dishes when my phone rang. It was Nina, my best friend since high school. Her voice was quiet. She asked if we could talk. I said yes. Then she told me she saw Daniel the day before. I asked her where. She said she saw him at the Riverwalk Café, a place near the water. I didn't think much of it until she said he was with a woman. I felt cold. I asked what she meant. Nina said Daniel and the woman were sitting very close, and he was holding her hand. I asked if she was sure it was him. She said yes. She said she saw his face clearly. She did not sound angry or mean. She sounded sad. I sat down after the call. I felt confused. I thought maybe Nina made a mistake. Maybe it was someone else. Maybe Daniel had a reason. I tried to tell myself it was not true. That night, I could not sleep. I looked at the ceiling. I thought about Daniel's message from the day before. He said he was in a meeting and would call me later. He never called. I felt nervous. My stomach hurt. My heart felt heavy. The next evening, Daniel came over. He brought pizza, my favorite. He kissed me and smiled. He asked how my day was. I said it was fine. He started talking about work. He told me about a new customer. He laughed. I smiled a little, but I felt strange. I looked at him and asked if I could ask something. He said yes. I asked him if he was at the Riverwalk Café yesterday. He looked at me for a moment, then looked away. He said yes. I asked if he was with someone. He said yes again. He told me the woman's name was Emily, and she worked with him. I asked if he was holding her hand. He did not answer right away. Then he said yes. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My chest hurt. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, cars passed by. People were walking. The world looked normal, but my world was not. I asked him why. I asked why he did that. He said he didn't know. He said they started talking at work, and he liked her, but he still cared about me. He said he was scared and didn't want to hurt me, but I was already hurt. I told him he lied to me. He said he didn't plan it. He said it just happened. I did not know what to say. I felt so tired. I sat back down. I told him I needed time to think. He said, okay. Then he left. He walked out the door, and I was alone. The room was very quiet. That night I cried. I cried for a long time. I looked at our photos on the wall. I thought about our memories. I asked myself if any of it was real. The next morning, Nina came to my apartment. She brought coffee and donuts. She sat beside me and gave me a hug. She told me I did not have to decide anything right away. She told me to rest and take time. I said thank you. I felt thankful she was there. That weekend, I stayed home. I looked at old messages from Daniel. I thought about the trips we took. I thought about how he held my hand when I was scared. I thought about the way he made me feel safe. Now, I felt lost. I picked up my notebook and started writing. I wrote about how I felt. I wrote about my pain. I wrote letters to Daniel that I did not send. I asked questions that had no answers. Each day was hard, but I got up. I went to work. I talked to Nina. I took short walks by the river. I looked at the water. I tried to feel calm. One night, I looked in the mirror. My eyes were red from crying, but I saw something else too. I saw a woman who was still standing. I was tired, but I was still here. I told myself that I did nothing wrong. I gave love. I gave trust. I didn't deserve this pain. The next day, I cleaned my room. I put away the gifts Daniel gave me. I turned off my phone. I needed space. I needed time to think about what I wanted. That night, I lay in bed and whispered to myself. I said, I will be okay. I will find peace again. Days passed, but the pain did not go away. I went to work, I made designs, and I smiled at people. But inside, I felt broken. I still thought about Daniel. I still remembered his voice, his laugh, and his promises. I kept asking myself the same questions. Did he ever really love me? Was I not enough? Why did he choose someone else? At night, I could not sleep. I looked at the ceiling and listened to the clock ticking. I cried when I was alone. I felt like my heart had a hole in it. My chest hurt in a way I could not explain. I missed him, but I also felt angry. I trusted him. I believed him. And now, I did not know what to believe anymore. My best friend Nina called me every day. She came over with food. She brought soup, fruit, and chocolate. She sat with me while I cried. She listened when I spoke. Sometimes I said nothing at all, and she just sat beside me. She told me that healing takes time. She told me that I was not weak. She said I was strong for facing the truth. One day, I opened my journal and started writing again. I wrote about how I used to feel before Daniel. I wrote about the things I loved. I remembered that I used to take long walks in the park. I used to read books in the library. I liked painting and listening to music. I forgot these things when I was with Daniel. I gave him all my time. I gave him all my heart. Now I wanted to remember who I was before him. I also started thinking about what I wanted from love. I wanted someone honest. I wanted someone who made me feel safe. I wanted someone who respected me. I wanted someone who would choose me every day, not just when it was easy. I wrote these things down. I looked at the list again and again. 1 week later, Daniel called me. I saw his name on my phone and felt my stomach twist. I didn't answer. He called again the next day. On the third day, he sent a message. He said he missed me. He said he wanted to talk. He asked if we could meet. I didn't know what to say. I called Nina and asked her what to do. She said it was my choice. She told me to be honest with myself. Did I still trust him? Could I ever feel safe with him again? I thought about it all night. The next morning, I sent Daniel a message. I said we could meet in the park near the river. The park was quiet. The wind was soft. I sat on a bench and waited. Daniel arrived a few minutes later. He looked nervous. He sat down beside me. For a moment we didn't speak. Then he said, "Anna, I'm sorry." I looked at him, but I said nothing. He said, "I made a mistake. I hurt you. I was stupid. I didn't know what I had until I lost it. I miss you. I miss us. I want to fix things." His words were soft. He looked down at his hands. He didn't smile like before. He looked sad. I listened, but my heart felt heavy. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to go back to the time when I trusted him, but I knew that time was gone. I looked at the trees. I listened to the birds. I felt the wind on my face. I felt my heart speak, and this time I listened. I said, "Daniel, I loved you. I gave you everything I had, but you broke my trust. You chose someone else. I can't forget that." He looked up at me. His eyes were full of pain. I continued, "I deserve someone who respects me, someone who is sure about me, someone who doesn't lie." Daniel didn't speak. He just looked at me. I said, "I can't stay in this relationship. I need to move on. I need to heal." He looked down again. He whispered, "I understand." I stood up. My legs were shaking, but I stayed strong. I looked at him one last time and said, "Goodbye." As I walked away, tears filled my eyes. My chest felt tight, but my heart also felt proud. I had made the hardest choice, but it was the right choice. That night, I went home and cried again, but this time, I also felt a little bit free. I didn't check my phone. I didn't wait for a message. I just let myself feel everything. I let the pain wash over me like a wave. And slowly, it passed. In the days after, I started doing the things I used to love. I went to the park with a book. I painted simple pictures at home. I listened to soft music while I drank tea. I took deep breaths. I walked slowly. I looked at the sky more often. I also talked to myself with kindness. I said, "You are strong, Anna. You are healing. You are not broken." I stopped asking questions like, "What if?" I started asking, "What's next?" I began to enjoy the small things again. A sunny morning, a quiet moment, the sound of the wind through the trees. Life felt different, but not all bad. Some days were still hard, but other days were peaceful. One day, I looked in the mirror and smiled a little, not because everything was perfect, but because I was still here. I was learning to love myself again. I started to see that losing Daniel was not the end. It was the beginning of something new. I was not the same person I was before. I was stronger. I was clearer. I knew what I wanted. I knew what I would never settle for again. Weeks passed. My days became a little brighter. I still remembered the pain, but it didn't control me anymore. I stopped checking my phone for messages from Daniel. I stopped replaying the past in my mind. I began to live in the present. I got up early, made tea, and opened my windows to feel the sun. I went for walks after work. I smiled at strangers. I listened to music again, not the sad songs, but soft songs with hope. I started spending more time with Nina. We went to a small art museum one weekend. We sat on a bench and looked at the paintings. I felt calm. We laughed at funny memories and talked about dreams for the future. Nina told me I was different now. She said I looked lighter. I told her I felt stronger. One Saturday, I went to the city library. It was quiet and warm inside. I wanted to find a book to read for the weekend. I walked between the shelves and looked at the covers. I reached for a book on the top shelf, but I couldn't quite reach it. Just then, someone beside me said, "Here, let me help you." He picked up the book and gave it to me. "Thank you," I said, a little shy. He smiled. "No problem. I was reaching for the same one." I laughed softly. He had kind eyes and wore a green hoodie. He looked calm, like someone who liked quiet places too. "My name is Daniel," he said. My heart jumped. His name was the same as my ex-boyfriend. I almost walked away, but then I stopped. This was not the same person. This was someone new. Someone kind. "My name is Anna," I said. We started talking. We talked about books, about coffee, about our favorite places in the city. His voice was soft. His words were simple. He didn't ask too many questions. He didn't try to impress me. I liked that. That day, we sat on a bench outside the library and talked for a while. It felt easy. It felt natural. I didn't feel nervous. I didn't feel scared. I felt peaceful. Over the next few weeks, we met again. We got coffee. We walked by the river. Sometimes we sat in silence. Sometimes we talked about little things, like weather and movies. He told me he liked painting too. I told him I used to paint before, and he smiled and said, "You should start again." I didn't tell him everything at first. I was still careful. I had walls around my heart. I was afraid to be hurt again. But he didn't rush me. He didn't push me. He just stayed kind and patient. One day, while we were sitting in the park, he said, "You don't have to tell me anything you're not ready to say. I just like spending time with you." I felt a warm feeling in my chest. I looked at him and said, "Thank you." It was a simple word, but I meant it deeply. Later that night, I wrote in my journal. I wrote about how far I had come. I wrote about the pain I had lived through and the strength I found. I also wrote about the new Daniel. I didn't know what would happen next, but I felt hopeful. Not because I met someone new, but because I was finally happy with myself. One morning, I sat on my porch with a cup of tea. The sky was blue. The air was fresh. I looked at the trees and smiled. I thought about the old Anna, the one who cried on the floor, the one who felt broken. I wanted to hug her. I wanted to tell her she would be okay. If I could talk to the Anna from a few months ago, I would say this: you are strong. You are enough. You don't need to stay with someone who hurts you. You don't need to beg for love. You will smile again. You will laugh again. You will feel free again. Just wait. The light will come back. And it did. Now I take things slow. I don't rush love. I don't give my heart too fast. But I also don't live in fear. I believe that good people exist. I believe that healing is possible. I believe that I can start again. Daniel and I still talk. We still meet for coffee and walks. It is still new, but it feels honest. I don't know what the future holds, but I know one thing for sure. I will never lose myself again. I will always choose respect, peace, and love that feels safe. Sometimes I still think about the other Daniel. Sometimes I wonder if he thinks about me. But I don't feel sad anymore. I don't feel angry. I let it go. Carrying that pain only made me tired. Letting go gave me freedom. I learned something important from all of this. I learned that losing someone does not mean losing myself. I learned that heartbreak can be the start of something beautiful. I learned that I can create light from darkness and love from pain. Life is not perfect now. Some days are quiet. Some days are hard. But I wake up each morning with hope. I open my window, feel the air, and say thank you. Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for the healing. Thank you for the new beginning. This is not the end of my story. It is just the beginning. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.